Hello, welcome to Men Mastery for Wealth. My name is Rose Thompson, and I'm the founder and CEO of Men Mastery for Wealth. For persons new to my channel, Men Mastery for Wealth is an innovative educational and research company that focuses on an integrated, holistic approach to help human beings create and achieve their life and business goals in the key areas of financial, wealth creation, health and well-being, as well as personal growth and empowerment. Our services at Men Mastery for Wealth are scientific evidence-based and seek to bridge a gap between science, spirituality, and human potential. For now, the information we share on this channel focuses mainly on NESARA GESARA in general, and specifically on the key benefits that are suggested to be available to us under NESARA GESARA. Although I haven't posted a video in a while, I continue to observe keenly the activities and events that are unfolding in the public space. It's absolutely fascinating. It is exciting. It's also frustrating. Frustrating because it was my understanding that the formal announcement of NESARA GESARA would have occurred first in 2021. Then it was now 2022, and somewhere in mid-2023, I came to the decision that it was not going to be in 2023. It was all about 2024, specifically all about November 2024. In my last video, I shared with you suggested timeline that the formal announcement of NESARA GESARA would be made. I suggested two windows, a short window of 6 months, which would have taken us to March 2024. As you're aware, the formal announcement has not occurred because it's all about November 2024. And then my long window was 12 months from September 2023, 12 to 14 months. 12 months will take us to September 2024, and the 14 months will take us to November 2024. But there are several key events that have started to come in the public space that are related to, and I'm thinking, are potentially signaling the ongoing implementation of the key benefits that will be available to us, suggested will be available to us under NESARA GESARA. In this video, I'm going to share with you information articles that have appeared in the public space that I believe are signaling the ongoing implementation of the key benefits that have been suggested will be available to us under NESARA GESARA. I'm going to share my slides with you. I'm going to focus mainly on the financial related benefits. I'll talk in general about the debt forgiveness of debt Jubilee, the ongoing banking collapse, which is necessary to bring us into this NESARA GESARA era. What's happening at the Federal Reserve system, the bank, in terms of their operation. They're experiencing significant operational losses. Key legislation, a bill that has been introduced to the U.S. House of Representatives to end the Federal Reserve, end the endless. And I believe you're aware that there's a post that states end the endless. I'll also share with you articles on abolishing income taxes and related bills that have been introduced for that. And I'll move over to BRICS. BRICS is so topical. I'll speak about what's happening with the countries and the gold asset-backed currency, as well as the US. I share legislation with you, which is key. And I will talk about projects that the Bank of International Settlement is working on. And whenever I get an opportunity to speak about activities at the BIS, the Bank of International Settlement. I'm excited. I'm excited because my doctoral dissertation that includes operational risk is situated within the context as described by BIS for operational risk. So one, it is the mBridge project. And this is based on a new blockchain that enables instant cross-border payments and settlements. So essentially, see, this is the replacement for the SWIFT system. And then I'll conclude with two key articles. One, this has been a pivotal moment in history, and it occurred on June 9th, 2024, where Saudi Arabia unpegged oil trade from US dollars. That means trade for oil no longer has to be denominated, no longer has to be settled only in US dollar. Think about the implication for global financial market, the economic relationship, as well as the political relationship. And there are articles I share with you that world is going back towards a gold standard. And then I will speak mainly from an educational perspective, the importance of gold and silver as investment strategy. I'll highlight a commodity, a metal, and not a commodity, a metal apart from gold and silver that a very good friend brought to my attention. I share that with you, and I'll also share with you repatriation from the UK of looted Asante gold, and this occurred over 150 years to an African country. Allow me a few seconds to share my screen with you. NESARA GESARA. NESARA is specific to the US and represents the most groundbreaking reformation to occur not only in the US, but throughout our planet and throughout our planet's entire history. That's to give you an indication of how impactful NESARA will be on our lives. GESARA is the global version of the act. It is my understanding that there will be a revaluation of currencies, and this will result in a global currency reset where countries will revert to using their national currency, and currencies will be at parity 1-to-1 with the US dollar. There are several persons that have indicated that NESARA GESARA, along with the revaluation and global currency reset, is not real. Based on my review, based on my observation over the past few years, 2-3 years, I support the position that NESARA GESARA is real, will occur, and so will the revaluation of currencies. These are 4 key benefits that are suggested that will be available to us under NESARA GESARA. Let me highlight at this point that the information that I'm sharing in this video, as well as my other videos related to NESARA GESARA, is for informational purposes only. I am not operating as a financial advisor, a tax professional, or a medical doctor. I'm suggesting that for your financial investment decisions that you're considering, you consult a reputable licensed financial advisor, planner, and a tax professional if you consider this to be necessary. And for your medical related decision, you consult a physician, a medical doctor. For key benefit number 1, where there will be a forgiveness of debt, a debt jubilee, where credit cards, mortgages, student loans, car leases will be canceled or zeroed out. several articles continue to appear in the public space where the current administration continues to cancel, especially student loans, although the Supreme Court has ruled otherwise. It may well be for optics, however, it is my understanding that persons have been having their mortgages, their student loans, their credit cards canceled. If there's anyone watching or listening to this video that have received a canceled credit card, student loan, mortgage, and feel comfortable sharing that information, I would love to hear from you. Please place that in the comment below this video. For key benefit number 2, it is my understanding that the quantum financial system is operating in the background, and along with the legacy banking system. So at some point that transition will be made fully. And I should also highlight that similar to the NESARA GESARA, several individuals stating that it is not real. These individuals have also indicated that the quantum financial system is not real. The abolishing the Federal Reserve System, I will share with you in a moment a bill that has been introduced to the U.S. House of Representatives for ending the Federal Reserve System, ending the endless. And I'll also share with you articles on the asset-backed, gold asset-backed currency legislation, bills that have been introduced to the House as well. This first article relates to the ongoing collapse of the banking system, which is necessary to bring us into the NESARA GESARA era. Caption: U.S. regulators seize troubled lender Republic First, sell it to Fulton Bank. This is actually the first bank that has collapsed since 2024. This article was published on April 27, 2024, where U.S. regulators seized Republic First Bancorp and agreed to sell it to Fulton Bank. As a matter of fact, the regulators sold it to Fulton Bank, underscoring the challenges facing regional banks a year after the collapse of 3 pairs, and 3 pairs being Silicon Valley Bank, Signature Bank, which occurred in March 2023, and First Republic, which crashed or collapsed in May 2023. The Federal Deposit Insurance appointed a receiver on a Friday. Notice these collapse occur quietly on a Friday, and by Monday morning, the banks would have been sold to another entity. And in this case, Fulton Financial Corp assumed substantially all deposits and purchased all the assets of Republic Bank. And this occurred operating name for Republic First to protect depositors. Total deposits of 4 billion compared to asset of 6 billion. FDIC estimated the cost of the failure to its fund to be approximately 667 million, which is approximately 16-17% of total deposits. So it would appear that approximately 17% of the total deposit was insured. What is very interesting about Fulton Financial Corp is that Moody's put 6 US regional banks on downgrade review over commercial real estate exposure. This article is was published on June 6th. And Fulton Financial Corp is one of those banks that have been placed on the has been downgraded. Have been put 6 US regional banks on downgrade review, has been placed on downgrade review for commercial real estate. The others are First Merchants Corp, FNB, First National Bank Corp, Old National Bank Corp, PPAC, Gladstone Financial Corp, and WAF, which looks like it's Washington Federal Bank. These banks have substantial concentration, so the article says, to commercial real estate loans, which are facing asset quality and profitability pressure, with higher for longer interest rates, raising long-standing risks, especially during cycle downturns. This is what Moody has indicated, and the Republic First, as the name of the bank, Republic First was sold on April 27th, a mere 2 months approximately, less than May-June, less than 2 months. The bank, the entity that acquired Republic First, was placed on downgrade review, and that's to give you an indication of how volatile this environment is for banks. And Republic First, actually, as I indicated earlier, Republic First Bank Corp is the first bank to have collapsed since 2024. The whole affair appears to be managed very carefully. Let's look at Bank of America. And this is article was published on April 5th. Bank of America paper loss on its bond portfolio reaches 110 billion and actually outpaced other banks. And this is, let's see, it is on their held to maturity securities in Q1. The FDIC, let's look at what the FDIC quarterly banking profile, which is published for first quarter 2024, very recent, May 29th, which highlighted, and here it is losses of approximately $517 billion in the first quarter, and this is unrealized losses on available for sale and held to maturity securities, actually increased by 39 billion, and there were approximately 63 banks that have CAMEL rating of 4 or 5. And this increase in the fourth quarter of 2023, there are actually 52 banks, increased to 63. What is very interesting as well from this article is that the deposit insurance fund has a balance of 125.3 billion on March 31st, actually up 3.5 billion. So this gives you an indication of the amount of funds that is secured by the balance in the FDIC insurance funds for deposits at all the other banks. The FDIC concludes that the banking industry continued to show resilience in the first quarter 2024. However, the banking industry still faces significant downside risk from the continued effects of inflation, volatility in market interest rates, as well as geopolitical uncertainty. These issues could cause credit quality, earnings, and liquidity challenges for the industry on a whole. In addition, deterioration in certain loan portfolios, particularly office properties, commercial real estate, and credit card loans, continues to warrant monitoring. These issues, together with funding and margin pressures, will remain matters of ongoing supervisory attention by the FDIC. That's to give you a sense of the state of the banking industry. Let's view what's occurring now at the Federal Reserve, moving from the individual banks now to the Federal Reserve. This article recently published June 12, captioned "Fed's balance sheet is underwater. Why things can get worse." Federal Reserve, and I'm reading, 1 trillion pile of paper losses are turning into actual losses with more insight. What's more, restrictive rates could end up costing the Fed around $100 billion a year, well into the next decade. All of which we have been told are necessary to bring us into the NESARA GESARA era, the quantum financial system, the Fed in particular. The collapse is necessary for the key benefits to be available under NESARA GESARA. Most of the other benefits are significantly dependent on the collapse, the elimination, the abolishing of the Federal Reserve. And this is an indication that the Federal Reserve is indeed being collapsed, appears to be carefully managed. During this, I would believe, very, very significant information, evidence in the public space, preparation for the ending of the endless, HR 8421, entitled to abolish the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System and the Federal Reserve Banks, to repeal the Federal Reserve Act, that is of 1913, and for other purposes. This was submitted or introduced to the House on May 16th, 2024, approximately a month ago, by Rep. Massey, Thomas Massey, a very, very important piece of legislation, maybe just as impactful as the restoration of gold standard. I'm going to share that with you shortly as well. All of this, I'm thinking, is designed for preparation of the eventual elimination of the Federal Reserve System, along with the collapse of the banking system. First, this is just now being introduced. Very, very significant piece of legislation in the public space. And here is another, and this is an article published on May 23rd in Fox, caption, House votes to block Federal Reserve from creating own digital currency. So this is very interesting as well. The CBDC has been, House of Representatives on Thursday voted along bipartisan line to advance legislation to block the Federal Reserve from creating its own central bank currency. So two very important pieces of legislation. One to block the creation of the CBDC, and then the other, so significant, to abolish the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System and the Federal Reserve banks, and also to repeal the Federal Reserve Act of 1913 and for other purposes. Both the Federal Reserve are probably the most important benefit that must be implemented for the other, and there are approximately 20 key benefits for the other benefits to be available. I'd like to share here as well, I'd like to highlight that although I'm sharing the sources for you, there are, throughout the presentation, I will also indicate that sources suggest, and I may not identify or state the sources. I'm doing that deliberately to encourage you to review available information for yourself. It is important for you to develop your own critical thinking. And although I'm sharing information from these published sources that are publicly available, I'm suggesting that you also conduct your own review of information. I welcome the opportunity to discuss with you any good quality information you may have that is not consistent with the information that I'm sharing in this, as well as my other videos. Sharing now information in the public space on the bill, HR Bill 2435, submitted to or introduced to the U.S. House of Representatives for the gold standard restoration. And what is key, and I'll get to the next slide to highlight that, it's that in terms of the revaluation and the global currency reset, what it does, it seeks to reset, as I highlighted earlier, each country's currency to parity, 1-to-1 or near parity with the U.S. new gold asset-backed currency, whether paper or digital. There are approximately 209 countries that are signatories to the NESARA GESARA in this case. Here, let me highlight on the next slide key, and I'm going to share with you. I'm going to go directly to Congress website where they have been an addition. Let me read here. The bill requires the Department of the Treasury to define the Federal Reserve note, that is what we currently use as a US dollar in term, and it's actually a Federal Reserve note, not a US dollar, in terms of a fixed weight of gold based on the day's closing market price of gold. Federal Reserve banks must exchange Federal Reserve notes with gold at this price. There's an addition to this. I'm going to take you directly to the website. Perhaps I'll share with you on the next slide and then share it with you that directly from the website. Treasury must make any exchange and place a corresponding lien on the assets of that bank. In addition, Treasury and the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve must report on U.S. gold holdings. The gold, the world is going back to the gold standard. So highlighted here, and this is not me, I took this directly from the website. It's no longer highlighted here, but it's the Gold Standard Restoration Act. And it says the Federal Reserve banks must exchange Federal Reserve notes with gold at this price. What is new or what was added is the section about and create processes to facilitate exchanges between banks and the public. What that is indicating is that the public will be given the opportunity to exchange the Federal Reserve notes for gold. The previous slide. That is why I like to retain my slides from prior periods, so I have something to compare for comparative purposes. Let me take you directly to the website to share this with you as well. .gov, Congress.gov website, HR 2435, Gold Standard Restoration Act. And a few days ago, that part I shared with you was highlighted just as I copied it from this side, but now it has probably been reviewed and the highlight has been removed. It says the Federal Reserve Bank must exchange Federal Reserve notes, which is what we currently have, with gold. So you will exchange, you will be given the opportunity. This is very important for the public to exchange your Federal Reserve notes with gold at the price, the day's closing market price of gold. Very important, and processes must be created by the Federal Reserve Banks to exchange for exchanges between banks and the public. And this legislation bill is saying if a Federal Reserve Bank does not do this, the US Treasury must make any exchange for the public and place a corresponding lien on the assets of the bank. So public will be given the opportunity again to exchange your Federal Reserve notes that we currently hold, and we refer to this note as a US note. You'll be given the opportunity based on this bill to exchange the notes with gold, either at the Federal Reserve Bank or the Treasury will advise accordingly. This is so important, so indicative that the gold standard is being restored, and the currency, the new currency, or the new notes, or maybe I should say the new currency, will be gold asset backed, and the other assets could be silver, platinum, oil, other commodities that the countries have to support their currency. I should highlight that although the benefits that I'm sharing with you, and let me get back to the slide for the benefits. Let me highlight that the benefits that are reflecting on this slide are benefits for NESARA. However, these similar benefits will be similar for the other 208 signatories to GESARA. So therefore, you may wish to substitute these benefits that have been created for NESARA will be reflected on the GESARA, and GESARA is for the global version of NESARA. I believe it's a good time now to refamiliarize or familiarize yourself with the section of the US Constitution, which covers constitutional money, gold or silver, or sound money. Some persons might refer to that as. So this section, constitutional money, gold and silver coin, can be found in Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution, US Constitution, and I'm going to read. Clause 1, prescribed powers. This is annotated. No state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque and reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin, tender in payment of debts, pass any bill of attainder, exposed facto law, or law impairing the obligations of contracts, or grant any title of nobility. And what is very interesting here is that it is my understanding that a previous president, the beloved JFK, had created Executive Order 11110 to return the US to a silver standard. So I thought I'd share this with you. This video is just as informational as it is educational. And there's one other bill that was introduced. I want to share this with you as well. I should really have covered it when I covered the bills for the Federal Reserve. And this is HR 24, Federal Reserve Transparency Act of 2023, was introduced on January 9th, 2023 by Rep. Massey again. And what this bill is all about is that it establishes requirements regarding audits of certain financial agencies performed by the Government Accountability Office. Specifically, the bill directs the GAO to complete within 12 months an audit of the Federal Reserve Board and the Federal Reserve banks. How many times have you heard that the Federal Reserve Bank and Board should be audited? So I wanted to share this piece of legislation, this bill that was introduced in 2023. Turn now, key benefits suggested that will be available to us under NESARA GESARA. 5, a benefit is that NESARA GESARA abolishes the income tax and abolishes the IRS. Employees of the IRS will be transferred into the U.S. Treasury National Sales Tax area, reminding persons on the GESARA side for other countries that these benefits that are created here or have been represented here, similar benefits will be available to you in your country, in each country. These benefits are specifically to the US, but will be mirrored on the GESARA. So for 7, it creates a benefit of 14% to 17%, I've seen in some places. Flat rate on non-essential new items only. Sales tax revenue for the government, food and medicine will not be taxed, nor will use items such as old homes. Let me share now the bills that have been introduced to the House of Representatives, and 3 articles, recent articles, and abolishing or suggestion of abolishing income tax, reducing corporate tax, and no tax on tips. Pretty interesting suggestion. For abolishing income tax, IRS, supporting evidence in the public space that is potentially signaling the ongoing implementation or preparation for the implementation of that those key benefits. This is HR 25. Was introduced on the 9th of January 2023, and here is what is being proposed. I'll read this for you. It is the Fair Tax Act of 2023. That is the title. HR 25, Fair Tax Act of 2023. And it describes this bill imposes a national sales tax on the use or consumption in the United States of taxable property or services in lieu of the current income taxes, payroll taxes, and estate and gift taxes. If that's similar to what is being proposed or was shared with you on the slide for the key benefits that will be available to us on the NESARA. The rate of this sales tax will be 23% in 2025, very significantly different from the 14 to 17%. Let's observe to see how this unfolds, with adjustments to the rate in subsequent years. And notice it says the year 2025. What is that proposing? Is that a clue? There are exemptions from the tax for use and intangible property, use property. Remember, that's exempted per the slide, prior slide, for property or services purchased for business, export, or investment purposes, and for state government functions. The bill terminates the national sales tax if the 16th Amendment, and I'm going to share with you the 16th Amendment to the Constitution, authorizing an income tax, is not repealed within 7 years after the enactment of this bill. So it's very key. I'd suggest you probably want to spend a few minutes reviewing this this bill. And then here is the 16th Amendment. Congress shall, and this is key, I'm going to leave this for your interpretation. It says Congress shall, some persons have highlighted that it says shall as opposed to require. Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes on incomes from whatever source derived without apportionment among the several states and without regard to any census or enumeration. I'm leaving this for you to interpret. So let me share with you now what has been proposed. Here's the article, Yahoo News, originally published in Bloomberg. Trump floats tax-free tips in pitch to win Las Vegas workers. And this was published on the 9th of June. I'm recording this on the 18th of June. Should be available with editing by the 20th. So Donald Trump said he'd scrap taxes on tip earnings for hospitality workers if he wins the White House, calibrating his message for swing state voters in Nevada as he fights back after his felony conviction. This is very interesting. Let's see how this unfolds. And here's the next article. Trump floats eliminating U.S. income tax and replacing it with tariffs on imports. This article, published on June 13th. Donald Trump discusses the idea of imposing an all-tariff policy that would ultimately enable the U.S. to get rid of income tax, sources told CNBC. He also asks about using tariffs to leverage negotiating power over bad actors, according to another source in the room. Trump championed tariffs during his first term in the White House. So very pretty interesting idea And the third idea, as it relates to tax, now he moves on to talk about corporate tax, and has stated that, and the article states, Trump tells CEOs he would cut corporate tax rate to 20. I believe it's currently, here it is, 21%. So very interesting articles appearing in the public space, and I interpret these as signaling the support for the suggested key benefits that will be available to us under NESARA GESARA for the abolishing income tax and abolishing the IRS and implementing a national sales tax, all supporting those key benefits. Sharing information now on the GESARA side as it relates to gold asset-backed currency. And I'll move over to BRICS once I'm through with this. Zimbabwe launches gold-backed currency to replace battered local dollar. And this occurred on, well, this article was published on April 5th, relatively recent in Reuters. Zimbabwe is replacing is collapsing local currency with the new one backed by gold and foreign currencies. And I'm reading that it hopes will be more stable and help bring down inflation, central bank said on Friday. So Zimbabwe is also fighting inflation problem or trying to manage inflation in its country. The Southern African country launches its own currency in 2019 after a decade of dollarization, but it struggled to win public trust, and more than 80% of the domestic transactions are now conducted in foreign currency. I believe it had resorted to using US dollar. The new currency called Zimbabwe Gold, ZIG for short, will circulate alongside foreign currencies, central bank governor stated. The bank also said it was recalibrating its main interest rate and setting it at 20% without elaborating. That's a drastic cut from the previous rate of 130%. And what I'd like to highlight is that the bank referred to the new currency as structured, saying it would be anchored by a composite basket of foreign currency and precious metals, mainly gold, held as reserve for this purpose by the Reserve Bank. From this article is that banks are to convert their current Zimbabwe dollar balances into ZIG with immediate effect. While people will have 21 days to exchange their old notes and coins for new ones, the monetary policy statement said. So I wanted to share this with you to give you an idea, and this may not necessarily what occurs in the US, that once the announcement is made for the conversion from the Federal Reserve note to the new US Treasury note that will be backed by gold, other assets, including silver, platinum, other precious metals, oil, etc. Individuals will be given a period to exchange their old notes, will be told where to, and banks as well will be given the opportunity to convert their current Federal Reserve note to the new US Treasury note, the US in this instance, and then similar practices or processes will take place in other countries. Moving now on to BRICS, it is my understanding as well that Zimbabwe has applied to join BRICS. BRICS abbreviated for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. 6 countries had received full membership that would take effect on January 1, 2024. And these countries were Argentina, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. All 6 countries with it. 4 countries exclude 4 countries, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, and United Arab Emirates, accepted full membership on January 1. However, Argentina withdrew, and Saudi Arabia did not take up full membership on January 1, did not join. However, they announced in mid-Jan they were still considering membership. I'm going to share with you this pivotal moment that occurred where Saudi Arabia, an article with you, where Saudi Arabia unpegged oil trade from the US dollar. So that is so significant. Potentially, this may have been why Saudi Arabia did not join in January as other places. And this information I'm sharing with you is from Wikipedia. Sharing now article on what is considered to be a pivotal moment in history. US-Saudi petrodollar pact ends after 50 years. June 11th, tip ranks publishing on the NASDAQ, NASDAQ.com. This has got to be one of the most, I probably say, guarded information, because it's only a few days before June 9th, the information came in the alt world that there was a contract for 50 years. It would expire on June 9th, and it was potentially not going to be renewed. So I had wanted to create my video earlier, and when I heard about this contract, I decided to wait and observe what were the likely implications from the contract not being renewed. So let me read for you this 50-year-old petrodollar agreement between the US and Saudi Arabia was just allowed to expire. This expired on June 9th, 2024. The term petrodollar refers to the US dollar's role as the currency used for crude oil transactions on the world market. This arrangement has its roots in the 1970s, when the United States and Saudi Arabia struck a deal shortly after the US went off the gold standard that would go on to have far-reaching consequences for the global economy. In the history of global finance, few agreements have wielded as many benefits as the petrodollar pact did for the US economy. This has got to be one of the most significant events that has occurred in within the last 50 years. This information, the ending of the 50-year contract, may well have been so well guarded that very few persons in the oil space was aware that this contract was was going to be expiring on June 9th, and it was just a few days, as I highlighted earlier, that this information came into the public space. Well, not the public space, because it came after. And I believe that may well have been reason or one of why Saudi Arabia did not join BRICS on January 1. So it's a very good article. It's one of the articles I'll keep in my resource for historical significance, and I'll leave this for you to read through. I'll highlight only a few parts in the essence of time. A boon to the U.S. bonds, the Petro agreement formalized after the 1973 oil crisis stipulated that Saudi Arabia would price its oil exports exclusively in US dollars and invest its surplus oil revenues in US Treasury bonds. Think about the implication now for the collapse of the petrodollar arrangement on the US dollar being the primary reserve currency. Think about the status of the US dollar. Think about the value, the decline in value, for the potential decline in value, and the implications as well for the purchase of US Treasury securities by other foreign countries that no longer have to secure US dollar to purchase their oil or to conduct their oil trade. So in return, the US provided, because this is so key, US provided military support and protection to the kingdom. And that is why I went on NASDAQ. I'm sharing this article that has been published on NASDAQ, not on other sites. This arrangement was a win-win situation. Coming back to the article, for both US and Saudi Arabia, the US gained a stable source of oil and a captive market for its debts, while Saudi Arabia secured its economic and overall security. What an interesting arrangement this was. Stresses the status as the reserve currency, oil being denominated in US dollars alone has significance beyond the categories of oil and finance. I'll leave this for you. Additionally, the influx of foreign capitals into US Treasury bonds has supported low interest rates and a robust bond market. It's very interesting coming at this time with the state of inflation in the US, the implication of that on the purchasing power of the dollar. It's very interesting. Here, highlighting the potential to disrupt the global financial order. The petrodollar dominance may be facing its most significant challenge yet. Spoke about that, the agreement between the US and Saudi Arabia, the expiration on the June 9th. This expiration has far-reaching implications as it has the potential to disrupt the global financial order. Not just the global financial order, but think about the economic arrangement as well as the political arrangement. Key takeaway, significant shift in global power dynamics. This is a very good article, has covered extensively several key areas. So I'm going to leave that for you to read in detail. Again, one of the most pivotal moments in history. Forbes is highlighting and is asking or is stating that the signs are there. The gold standard is indeed coming back. A recent article, May 21, 2024. It's hard to believe, and I'm reading, but the world is beginning to lurk towards a gold-based monetary system. This despite the fact that the historical gold standard is held in almost universal contempt by economists as well as financial officials. Contrary to numerous myths based on ignorance, the system worked. US was on a gold-based system for 180 years until the early 1970s. I think it started to reduce in the 1930s. We never had inflation. This article said, when the dollar was tied to the yellow metal and the US experienced the greatest long-term economic growth in human history. Think about what I just read and what the potential restoration of the gold standard will mean. They never had inflation, so that means inflation should no longer be there once the gold standard has been restored, and there should be economic growth as well. One, the signs are here. One is the central banks in recent years have been purchasing gold at record levels. Buyers include China, India, Russia, and a number of other nations such as Poland. These countries are reacting to growing doubts about the long-term value of the dollar, which in turn is a symptom of the perceived decline of the US dollar. Now, this article was published May 21st before the US-Saudi arrangement came to an end. Isn't this interesting? Isn't this fascinating? And then let me just move over here now to support this article. Central bank gold buying picks up in April. This was published in June, and I believe it may have been Turkey, if that is in this article. Yes. Central bank gold demand remains healthy so far in 2020, and most of the gold was purchased by Turkey that led that path. Although it highlighted that there has been a significant slowdown in gold buying by the People's Bank of the Republic. So a return to the gold standard appears to be very imminent. And Singapore, based on this article, CNBC, very recent, June 10th, Singapore is set to lead the gold market as center of gravity shifts east, so says the World Gold Council. Singapore is set to become a leading gold hub as trading shifts east. Countries' proximity to these central banks, which are actively snapping up gold, is a key reason for that. This is on top of the rise in gold consumption and from major emerging market economies, majority of which are concentrated in Asia. Following on from the June 9th article, where Saudi Arabia has ended the petrodollar pact ends after 50 years. Here's Saudi Arabia, and this was published on June 5th. 2024 joins BIS, which is the Bank for International Settlement, could be considered to be the central bank of all central banks. And it joined BIS and China-led central bank digital currency project. So I'm moving into the project activities for which appears to be the systems that will be implemented to facilitate the transition from the SWIFT platform to this platform. This project is referred to as the mBridge. Could very well be a part of the quantum financial system. And here again, this is mBridge, and not mBridge, mBridge. It's a bridge indeed, aptly named, support for, and it's blockchain as well. Maybe the name quantum financial system is the umbrella platform. This could very well be a part of it. So quickly, Saudi Arabia has joined a China dominated central bank digital currency cross-border trial settlement, again, in what could be another step towards less of the world oil trade being done in US dollars, China denominated. The move announced by the Bank for International Settlement on Wednesday will see Saudi Arabia's central bank become, in very interesting developments, become a full participant of Project mBridge. This is so significant. The collaboration launched in 2021, perhaps all in preparation for this, between the central banks of China, Hong Kong, Thailand, and the United Arab Emirates. Let's look at the timing. Timing is so important. The BIS, a global central bank umbrella organization which oversees the project, also announced that mBridge had reached minimum viable product stage, meaning it will move beyond the prototype phase. Roughly 135 countries and currency union representing 98% of global GDP are exploring central bank digital currencies, or CBDC, and might I say, I believe this should be backed by gold, other assets as well. But the new technologies they use make cross-border movement both technically challenging and politically sensitive. So let's look at the minimum viable product stage on the Bank for International BIS website. There it is. Project mBridge reaches minimum viable product stage and invites further international participants. Essentially, the project is described as aiming to tackle some of the key inefficiencies in cross-border payments, including high cost, low speed, and operational complexities. mBridge, a platform based on a new blockchain. What do we know about the blockchain and the quantum financial system? Here it is. The mBridge ledger was built to support real-time peer-to-peer cross-border payments and foreign exchange transactions. In 2022, a pilot with real value transactions was conducted. Since then, the mBridge project team has been exploring whether the prototype platform could evolve to become an MVP, a stage now reached. And here are the observing members to the project mBridge. Isn't this significant? Look at the timing of the activities. And I quickly want to just share this article on next generation corresponding banking, follow on to the mBridge, but this is corresponding banking, similar arrangement for cross-border transaction as well. Highlighting Song Shin, because this person is the editor of the BIS Bulletin series. And it is just briefly, I want to highlight that corresponding banks play a pivotal and historical role in the expansion of cross-border payment activity by enabling transaction settlement, check clearing, and associated foreign exchange operations. I leave this for you to read at your own leisure. So these three articles, well, two, because one leads to the other, mBridge, are highlighting the projects being worked on and the system being implemented to facilitate the transition from the SWIFT system to the mBridge project here, the quantum financial system, whatever system the name will, whatever name the systems will eventually be given. I'd like to close with these two articles. One on here on the screen. What record highs for gold, silver, and copper are saying about the economy. Provided by Dow Jones, May 21st, 2024. Broad-based, and I'm reading, rally momentum may prove to be sustainable for the foreseeable future, but please read on to get the opinion of several persons. The rally in metals has grabbed headlines recently, but as gold, silver, and copper reach fresh highs, traders may need to weigh the potential for limits to further upside for prices and reassess what the moves suggest about the global economy. Confluence of these circumstances has led to copper, gold, and silver all notching fresh highs for the year. Rallying precious and industrial metals has been underpinned both by broader developments in the global macroeconomic environment, as well as increased idiosyncratic demands for individual metals. And this is key. Investors have flocked to precious metals as inflation remains relatively stubborn and the prospect of rate cuts are pushed further out. Additionally, demand for gold by central banks, global central banks, demand for silver as an industrial input for solar panel production, and demand for copper in renewable energy generation and electric vehicles remains significantly elevated. I would like to highlight, and this is for educational purposes only, information purpose as well. Given high inflation, given the ability of these metals, especially gold and silver, as hedge against inflation, great store value, and great metals for wealth creation as investment strategies or vehicle. Now may be a good time for you to visit your portfolio, look at your equities, look at your 401k, your IRA, and you may consider as well the 401k, the IRA that is backed by gold. I haven't seen any silver. And here again, I'm highlighting copper. This is the metal, this is the commodity. A very good friend of mine brought to my attention, I was not focusing on copper, and my good friend highlighted that copper is also a great metal for hedging against inflation, store of value, and also for wealth creation. So I leave that with you, and remember, I'm highlighting this for educational and informational purposes. Any investment or financial decision that you're considering, please consult a reputable licensed financial advisor. And I close with this article. Asante Gold, UK returns looted Ghana artifacts after 150 years. And Ghana is the country I spoke about at the top of my video. Beautiful artifacts. The UK has returned dozens of artifacts looted from what is today Ghana, more than 150 years after they were taken. Some 32 gold and silver items have been sent on long-term loan to the country by the Victoria and Albert Museum and the British Museum. They were stolen from the court of the Asante king, known as Asante Hime. I might have gotten that pronunciation off. During the 19th century conflicts between the British and the powerful Asante people. Objects are expected to be returned to the current king on Friday. Repatriation of assets, artifacts, has been included in what we have been told would be occurring. Items that were taken many, many years, decades ago, would be returned to their country of origin, would be repatriated. What indeed? This is indeed a very influential timeline that we are observing in modern history. We are indeed living in one of the most, if not the most influential timelines in modern history. And the events, the activities that are unfolding are indeed remarkable. The execution of the strategy is absolutely brilliant. Strategies are being executed with military precision. It's really awesome. And I feel humbled and absolutely grateful to have been afforded the opportunity to have observed, become aware of, and be able to observe these events almost in real time, but they're not, because we've been told that these events have already occurred behind the scenes and are playing out in the public. The various pieces of this great plan are fitting very smugly together. I've shared with you information that have appeared in the public space, which should provide good support that the key benefits that have been suggested will be available to us under NESARA GESARA continue to be implemented. Structure, the system, the processes are being implemented. The key pieces of legislation is good evidence for that. The HR bills that have been introduced to the House for the Federal Reserve, for the abolishing of the income tax, those provide good support that the key benefits that have been suggested will be available to us continue to be implemented. What a period to be alive. It's both exciting, it's both fascinating, it's frustrating as well. And may I suggest that we're almost there. We've come this far. We're actually less than 5 months away from November 2024. If you've come this far, may I encourage you to keep the faith, to keep the attitude positive. This does impact the collective consciousness. I have placed in the description below this video the contact details that we can be reached with any inquiries you may have about the information I've shared with you in this video and my other videos. I've also placed the website address for Mind Mastery for Wealth. I'm encouraging you to visit the website. It has great resources to help you to change your thinking and belief systems from limitation to thinking and belief system in terms of possibilities and abundance. I'm encouraging you to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so, and to like this video, only because I understand it allows the algorithm to reach more persons, and that is our intent. I'm encouraging you as well to share the video with any persons you believe the content will add value to their lives. Thank you so much for visiting my channel and watching my video. I look forward to sharing good quality information on NESARA GESARA with you.